So a few patches back, we had the big MAGE update, and kind of innocently listed under the minor MAGE updates was Swain. And it turns out that the update since then has taken him on a wild, crazy ride, going from middle of the pack where he started all the way down to the lowest win rate champion in the game, and then shooting up to be the very highest win rate champion. It's been a crazy ride, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the changes that made him bounce around so aggressively. Once again, the original update labeled him as only one of the minor updates, but he did come with a lot of changes to his kit. The two biggest changes here were definitely one, the Q, which became this targeted AoE, and then it's kind of a self-targeting death bird laser chicken thing, which is a lot different than the single target spell. But the other big change is the way the ultimate worked. Rather than coming out and having 3 ravens that go out in a wave and then come back in, you have ravens that come out every 0.2 seconds. They can only target each target every second, kind of like they used to, but now you can have up to 5 ravens instead of up to 3. And the ravens come back more often, which means that the healing from it is a lot smoother than it used to be. And this change really magnifies changes that are made later to the ultimate. Now this original rework is where we saw him sink to rock bottom. Right away we saw him floating just above 38% win rate. 38% win rate is horrifying. That's Nunu support levels of awful. That's approaching Talia levels of awful, which I probably don't need to tell you is a scary thought. There were a few factors that went into this dive. First is that people were still maxing E when they really went out of the way to make it so you don't have to do that anymore. The damage application is already the full value at 1, so there's a lot less value in leveling it over Q, but even maxing Q felt pretty underwhelming, so it's hard to blame people. Also, there were some really obnoxious bugs. The ultimate had a casting time on it that was never meant to go live, and the Q was not properly applying Rylai's and Liandry's, which were fairly commonly picked on him, especially Rylai's. When these were combined with what was probably already too low values for some of his kit, it led to a really bad time for his win rate overall. They decided to go so far as to hotfix some changes to his kit so he wouldn't have to go the entire patch this way. They upped the damage of his Q, and they also fixed that really annoying bug on the ultimate, which is great. Brought him up to like a 46% win rate, which isn't mind-blowing, but at least he firmly got out of Talia territory. And then we have the innocent-looking 6.10 patch. And we have some more changes here. His health growth was up, which is great. But now we had a change where the Q executed minions below 10 HP, and it also worked with Rylai's properly now. And the whole executing minions below 10 HP is actually really important because it helps push the lane a lot easier. You know, you can really let your Q kind of do the cleanup duty, and it makes it really safe to just kind of walk up and push the wave and walk away. But the really big change was actually to his ultimate. Basically what happened was they changed it from a percentage of the damage you dealt to champions to a flat amount. So suddenly, when you're against a champion that has a lot of MR, you're still healing your full amount rather than depending on the damage you're doing to them to heal you. Even if someone had enough MR to have like a 50% damage reduction, you were actually healing almost twice as much because of this change. When this came through, along with every other change he received, it all kind of combined together and shot him up to a 57% win rate. Once the kit was solid and buffed and the bugs were cleaned up, it became apparent just how amazing the itemization changes are on him. You can beat on him and his Roa is giving him more mana to laugh and keep his ult up. Cheaper Hourglass means you get it sooner. God forbid they're getting you low. You can just pop into the Golden God of Healing and catch back up. It's crazy because instead of being a brilliant tactician, he feels like an unkillable juggernaut, which is really awful for his theme. But I mean, for his win rate, it's absolutely fantastic, right? And I'm not sure if at this point the Swain mains were rejoicing in the streets at how strong he was, or if they were horrified that his ban rate was going through the roof, but he certainly wasn't going to stay in this phase very long. 6.11 was released recently, and they bumped down the damage on Q and lowered the healing versus champions on the ultimate. It seems to be doing a pretty good job of kind of bringing down his win rate a little bit without murdering him this time, which is a reasonable place to get him. But the problem is he's so tied to this itemization, it just makes him so good that if they change that, they buff that, they nerf that, he's going to be directly affected as well. And so going forward, we're going to have to keep a really close eye on Swain. And hopefully the wild, crazy ride of Swain will at least be a little bit more reasonable going forward.